We haven't talked about Hijra. And Leo, you said to me off air, you said to me, none of these Christian leaders know anything about Hijra. Talk to us about it quickly.
Yes, Hijra, I believe, is the key to the whole ball of wax here that we've been talking about. We talk about how many are coming. We talk about their lack of assimilation. We've talked about how we could help more where they are in the Middle East if we were really concerned about a compassionate Christian response. But what we are failed to talk about so far, and what I don't believe these Christian leaders have any inkling or knowledge of, is the Hijra. The Hijra is an Islamic doctrine that goes all the way back to Muhammad that is second in importance only to jihad when it comes to the points that you can get from Allah when you go on to the next life. If you die, as you know, on jihad, you get an immediate pass into paradise. If you die while you're on Hijra, it is second only to jihad on that level. So Hijra is a method of spreading Islam to non-Islamic lands through migration. And that's all the word means. Hijra is Arabic for migration. And it is a sacred doctrine in Islam. And that is something Christian leaders must understand. And I explained it in my book.
Yes.
I talked to a former imam, Dr. Mark Christian, who is from Cairo, Egypt, son of a Muslim Brotherhood father. And he is a brilliant scholar about Islam, and he exposes this in my book.
Leo is exactly correct about this. And to me, we talk about how much more efficient it would be and helpful to help those who are in need if we did so over in the lands where they live. But that would negate them being able to come here and follow the Hijra and follow the admonition that the Quran gives. They must do this. Leo, do you hold out any hope that our government, our politicians, especially in the new administration, are going to be able to, I want to say pull this off, but be able to stop this? When they have the media beating on them and they can't take a breath without the media disrupting their lives. Do you believe that the administration can somehow, with the control of Congress, get a grip on this?
The problem is going to be largely Congress, Eric. Many of our Republican leaders in Congress, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and these type, John McCain, they're on the take from the Muslim Brotherhood. They are bought and paid for by groups like CARE and ISNA, and they have no intentions of solving this problem, and so they will work against President Trump every opportunity they have.
Let me break in on you. That's a very heavy thing to say, and I know you could back that up or you'd never make that statement. Is it that their campaigns are being financed? Is that what's going on?
Mr. Paul Ryan has accepted last year $1,000 from CARE. I know that for a fact, which is a one-time donation from an individual who was associated with CARE. That's a rather large, that would be like you giving $1,000 to a campaign, a congressional campaign. That's a rather large donation. And so, yes, and John McCain as well has received money from individuals connected to CARE and other Muslim Brotherhood affiliated organizations. And so, no, that is not something I just made up. It is true, and there's many others. The Democrats are even more heavily financed by Muslim Brotherhood entities. But we do have enough in the Republican Party for it to be a concern, especially when your Speaker of the House is one of them. Yes, it's going to be an uphill challenge, but people need to be in contact with their congressmen and to let them know that we should, above all else, declare the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization.
Amen.
There's a bill in Congress to do just that. Little wonder that Mr. Paul Ryan has not advanced that bill. Don't expect him to unless he comes under intense pressure from both constituents and perhaps President Trump. But President Trump could do this on his own, I'm told, as well.
And you also bring out, Leo Hohmann, in your book, you talk about, again, the global elites, the one-worlders. We just did a whole program on that recently here with Gary Kopp.
Absolutely. And the bottom line goal of that group is a borderless world.
Yes.
The free flow of labor across open borders. And that is another thing that people like Paul Ryan are just openly in favor of. I mean, they're trying to be more judicious in the way they talk about it now that they know that most people are, not on board with that type of philosophy. But if you look at his history, everything on immigration that he has stood for has been towards open borders.
One world government, one world system, no borders, single currency. Hey, it's in the Bible, folks. We talk about it all the time. Read Revelation 13 and other places.
Yeah, we do read it elsewhere in the Scriptures, and it's all through the Scriptures, and we're watching it happen right before our eyes. I was thinking as Leo was talking about what's happened in Europe and what is about to happen or what could happen here, just thinking about the way this reforms and reshapes everyone and everything around us. And it looks to me like between the government and the media, the two of them are really on a binge to make this happen. I mean, that's what we've been talking about, but it's like it struck me. This changes the thinking I had as a little boy growing up in West Virginia, or you, Jan, where you grew up, or Leo, where he grew up. It changes everything about the way we think about the world if we introduce a religion that cannot assimilate in this way, in this magnitude here in America.
Leo, you bring out the fact that a new mosque opens every week in America. We have so many springing up in Minnesota. It's just stunning. They're even opening in Alaska. And then you bring out that Europe is expected to be completely Muslim in 10 years.
Well, those are predictions. Whether or not they'll come true or not remains to be seen. But there was a recent prediction, I think, even since my book was published, by an archbishop of Pompeii in Italy, Monsignor Carlo Liberati, who said, point blank, he predicted Europe will be Muslim within 10 years. And he said, it's, quote, because of our stupidity, unquote. We have a weak Christian faith. He said all of the moral and religious decadence favors Islam. We need a true Christian life. All this paves the way to Islam. In addition, he said, they have children and we don't.
They can have 3 and 4 wives, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Islam must control the whole earth. That's the way they feel anyway. It's the fastest growing movement in the world. And, and you bring out, Leo, the fact that it kind of required Barack Obama to further this catastrophe. I mean, he lectured Christians about guns and Bibles. He was a defender of Islam. He oversaw Islamic teachings into Common Core. He put up barriers to true refugees, such as Christians. 99%, I think, are Muslims coming in. From Syria.
Right. A little bit higher from some of the other countries.
Yeah, and many politicians, as we've just discussed here, place us on a path to national suicide. We talked about 100 evangelical leaders putting us on a path to suicide. So I think all of us are hopeful that a new president, Donald Trump, can make a difference. And I know you raised that question, Eric, and I hope and pray that he can, but then we get the pushback from the judges and from the Court of Appeals, and Americans throw their hands up and say, I give up.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that I bring out in my book, Jan, is that what I call an unholy alliance between the secular globalist left and the religious Islamist globalists. They have a lot in common. At first, you wouldn't think so. One is fundamentally religious, the Islamists, and then the other is worldly and secular. What do they have in common? Well, they both are for a global system. Islamists want a global caliphate. The leftists want a global government based on a one-world order that you talked about.
Good point.
And they have also common enemies.
That's true.
Their common enemy is Christianity and Judeo-Christian values.
Right.
They cannot succeed in their global vision with a strong Christianity.
Okay, we've presented some huge problems this hour, and I'm running out of time here, but Leo, do you have perhaps a solution?
The solution, Jan, as you know as well as I do, is a strong Christianity. Archbishop Liberati, I just gave that quote, wonderful quote from him about we have a weak Christianity. I'm afraid the same thing has happened in many of our American churches. If we have strong churches and a strong Christianity, that is the best antidote to a rising Islam in any culture. Islam looks for weak Christianity, and it rushes in to fill the void.
Right, but then we've got 100 evangelical leaders who say we must cave to these people, and they represent...
Right. We have to ignore our 100 evangelical leaders.
Exactly what I was going to say, Jan. We just need to forget what any Christian leader is saying and go back to the Scriptures and follow the Bible.
Right.
This is a spiritual war. If I have a final comment, it's that.
Please.
And it is a spiritual war being played out in the natural. It is end-time events that we see taking place. Prophecy is all around us.
Yes.
Keep your eyes open. Watch for the Messiah, but while you're here, work and don't give up. That's where I've always come from on these issues.
And listen to spiritually enlightened Christian leaders like Franklin Graham.
Well, folks, I just want to wrap this up again. You can find the book, Stealth Invasion, Muslim Conquest Through Immigration and Resettlement Jihad by Leo Hohmann, WND.com. Go to their superstore. I've read it cover to cover. I don't often have time to do that, but it was gripping. It's got, and again, I live in Little Mogadishu, but Little Mogadishu is coming to you. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. If we don't step in and do something. I think back to 2 Timothy 3, where it talks about the last days being perilous times, and my goodness, aren't they perilous times? I just think of the verse in the Psalms, I trust in you, O Lord. Our times are in your hands.